Well, Mark Gassert, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great, Tom. Had a pretty intense weekend, but it was a great weekend for me. Got to travel 5 hours up the line there, 85 north to Greensboro, North Carolina, Guilford College.
Yeah, Mark's son graduated from college. They had the ceremonies this weekend, so congratulations again, Mark. You got to
Well,
be a
thank
proud
you.
papa.
Oh yeah. In fact, he just came home here about 5 minutes ago. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, Mark, why don't we go ahead and share what Elevate Your Profit is, and then we'll do our rollout and we'll introduce our guest here in a moment.
Absolutely. Always like talking about elevate your profits because, as you know, we do talk about money. It's okay to talk about that. We do need it out there to exist and move forward and do things. And while we're on that subject matter, people have a platform, a program, and they're very passionate about it. We welcome you on here. We've had authored people on here. We've had people in the healthcare industry. We've had people in the financial industry. That's one of Tom's expertise. And, anybody out there with a cause, you want to come on here and talk about whether it's something that you're very passionate about doing other than your business, even if you are a business owner, solopreneur, entrepreneur, please. We welcome you at all times to come on Elevate Your Profits, because I think what Tom and I are about is not so much educating you as you educate us as to what you do and how you do it and how you reach the masses. And that's why we're using this medium here right now. So I always like to kiddingly say, if I'm dating myself, the Jetsons, if you ever remember that cartoon, that's how they communicated, just like we are. So, hey, it became a reality.
Yeah. Great job, Mark. Yeah, this whole platform is like I was sharing with our guest before we went live here. It's all about help that person maybe desire to become an entrepreneur. Those are already entrepreneurial, and what it takes to win. My specialty is really from the mindset, and I love what I saw on your website as well. So much of succeeding in anything in life is really is how we frame our thinking and to get the success we're looking for. So we're going to go ahead and do our EYP rollout. We'll play a quick little video of our sponsor, Be Connected, and our guest. We'll mention that a little bit as we go through our interview tonight. So here we go, Mark.
Outstanding.
Be right back. We'll get that next, or we got a quick little commercial here about Be Connected.
It's all good. There we are. That's our commercial for Be Connected. This is the platform we're on. This is how I met our guest today. So it's connecting people so we can help support each other in our endeavors, whatever they may be in business or in our personal lives. So without any further ado, I want to introduce Kelvin Holliday. Kelvin, what I'd like you to do today is just share with everybody in our audience where you're from, where you live now, your story, what you do, and then Mark and I will probably throw some questions answered from time to time as we go through this.
Sounds great, Thomas and Mark. Thank you very much for having us on today. And yeah, this Be Connected platform is fantastic, and it's been able to connect us. And it's been an absolute pleasure since the time we've connected in this last month or so. It's been fantastic. So my story. Well, mate, I'm 59 years young next month, and it's been a bit of an interesting journey. And I think what really motivates me is I've learned from my past experiences and some of the school of hard knocks, I call it. I've learned a lot over those years, and I'd like to help entrepreneurs and business owners to really probably not make the same mistakes I made. And so I like to call myself the creator of time and freedom. So I guess it started many years ago. I was married, and unfortunately that marriage broke down, and I blame myself a lot for that, for the fact that my work ethic, working long hours, too hard, not spending enough time with my family, big mistake, and I regret it, but I can't go back and change it. And so I see that so often in business owners. They spend so much time, they tie themselves to the business, and that becomes their monster that takes them away from what they should be, which is their family. And so having 4 children has been great. They're all grown up. They're all over the world now. And so I originally come from Australia, a place called Newcastle. It's about 2 hours north of Sydney. Beautiful place. It's called the Hunter Valley, and beautiful vineyards there, beautiful scenery, close to beaches. It's got pretty much everything there. And spent there. I was born and bred in the area. Spent a little bit of time in Sydney, a couple of years in Sydney, working within a not-for-profit sector, and I've just recently, just last year, moved to Thailand. And so I looked for a change. People. And we'll say this before, Thomas, like people go for the sea change or the tree change. Well, I went for the cultural change. I just wanted something completely different, get me outside of my comfort zone, and it worked. I needed something to really get my mind and my heart really renewed, and so I've been able to do that, and it's been a marvelous little trip. So,
I just want to make this comment, that being in business for yourself gives you the ability to make those decisions for yourself in your life. So as Mark says, loves your accent. So
yeah, mate, I'm an Aussie bloke, and so you'll probably hear a couple of Aussie type slang words. And if I pick myself up, or if you hear me saying anything, mate, just ask me what they are. So it's and I'm sure we can decipher the different the Aussie bloke that's hanging around in Thailand, and so every now and again it becomes a bit of a challenge here. So
yeah, so that's one of the things I love about being in business for myself all these years. It gives me the options that I wouldn't have if I worked for somebody else. I've been able to make some very significant changes in my life, moving around the country, not tied to a job, knowing that wherever I parked myself, I'd be able to create the living that I desire through my businesses. So I understand the freedom that business gives you. It does take a lot of work and focus and mindset, those type of things. So what I'd like to have you share today is what moved you into the business that you're in now. To share with everybody a little bit about your transition from working in the nonprofit sector to where you are today.
Yeah, it was an interesting journey. It was a very interesting. So I started my career as an apprentice carpenter, and so being an apprentice carpenter, 4 years of apprenticeship, going out of that, and I was very fortunate that what I did my apprenticeship with was the Department of Health. And so I worked inside of a hospital environment, doing maintenance work and building work within a hospital environment. And they were very gracious and allowed me to go back to college and do some extra training. So by the time I'd finished my apprenticeship, I was only 1 year away from actually having a builder's license. So here I am, finished my apprenticeship at 20. By 21, I had a builder's license. And by 22, I built a $45 million building company. So it was like my launch into business life was very, very young and very, very big. Yeah. And so you go back, like it's for most people that might be listening here today, like I started in business probably before some of you were born. And, and to build a $45 million building business with hundreds of employees, and it was employees in those days, it wasn't as many contractors. So we had a lot of employees. I learned it hard. And I just worked harder and longer hours building that business. And I loved it, but I burnt out. I just absolutely burnt out. And over a weekend, I'm a Christian man, and I was going to church and different things. And I reached a stage where I just needed, I needed out. I needed out from that. And I had an opportunity to go over to Africa. I spent 6 weeks in Africa, built a school for the blind, led a project over there, and that was a massive change point for me. I went from doing a job, and I'd really built in the building company. I built a job for myself. I built an income stream, but I just worked hard to do that. When I went in the not-for-profit sector, and when I went to Africa, I come back and I went into the not-for-profit sector, worked within the church environment, and built some welfare programs, become then the director of New South Wales Welfare for Churches of Christ. And I love that. Making a difference in people's lives it really sparked something inside of me to say, hey, I like to help people. So the building part was one thing, but I'd never really recognized what it was about the building that was really connected with my why. And what it was is making people happy. And it was that day when you would give the keys, when the buildings, the day, I can remember the day when I give the keys to the new owners of a property, and they walk into their new home and, I've got my dream, my dream. I'd help them achieve something that they had been wanting for a long time. And I realized that was what it was when I went to the not-for-profit and started helping people to really break free of some of the poverty cycles and different things that was happening. I discovered who I was very much. And so I took that from the not-for-profit. I wasn't the type, I was the entrepreneurial type to be with inside of a not-for-profit with boards and having to get permission to change a light bulb was a challenge within the not-for-profit sector. And so that wasn't me. And I went into business. And so that was now 20 odd years ago. And went through and built a number of different businesses, including a college. It's a private college, government registered, called a registered training organisation here in Australia. Built that college, trained people in the not-for-profit sector in what's called NDIS, National Disability Insurance Scheme, and how to do community care and doing their leadership, and loved it. Absolutely loved it. But the bureaucracy of government compliance got me down. And I built a business up, like I bought it, built it up very successfully. And I decided in 2018 that I was going to retire. So I'd had enough. So here I was, 54 years of age. I always sort of like said to myself, by the time I get to 55, I'm going to retire. And sold the businesses and everything like that. I lasted a total of 2 weeks before I said, I can't retire. It's like I can't sit around here and do, the thing in the shed, the running around and doing different things. I got itchy feet, and so I started back up again. And that's what started the group of companies that I've got now, called the Transformational Group. And
what company is that, and what are you doing? What's your...
So there's three companies in the group, all right, and it's the T's of transformation. So getting the thinking right, so that mindset, and I know that's something you're very, very big into, Thomas, is if you can get your mindset right, that's one. So I do one company is called the Transformational Group, which is about trying to get people to help them with their thinking right. So conferences, different courses and stuff like that. The second company is a technology company. And that technology company is about helping to get the right technology stack, one of them being this Be Connected platform, so that people can wade through the jungle of technology out there and make that. So that's called the Productivity Hub. And the other one is an outsourced company, which is the Transformational Hub. And so that particular company has an outsourced philosophy to help people. And you put them all together. So you get your thinking right, you get your technology right, you get your team right, you'll get your time back, and you will have transformation in your life. So the 5 T's just makes it easy, all focused on the whole idea of creating time and freedom to get rid of those problems that I had when I basically burnt myself out.
Wonderful. How I connected with you is through the Be Connected summit that was put on by Tanya Hoffman, the CEO. When you were talking about technology, keeping it simple and how to integrate all these technologies. So one of your technologies is a CRM platform. Is that correct?
That's right. And it's a lot of people, when you talk CRMs, there's so many on the market. And when I started that going back in 2020, all right, so just under 2 years ago, actually 2 years ago this month. 2 years ago this month, we started the CRM company. People looked at me and went, "Why would you start another CRM company? Why that?" And but it's very different. We've morphed it into, it's going to be, we're going through a rebrand very shortly. It's going to be called the Productivity Hub, because it truly is. It's not just a marketing platform anymore. It is a platform. It's a holistic approach. It embraces the newest of technology. AI embraces Be Connected. And so it is now a place where it's literally a one-stop shop with the best technology. That's the best of the best, all now seamlessly put together into one place. And that was what the goal was when I started it. We've just been able to succeed in our basically our first major step, a major stage. And so now, it's really about it. And I've got a question there, Sarah. There's what's that? There's that word, CRM, client relationship management. So
Mark, you muted.
Can't hear you there, Mark.
You're muted, Mark.
I put that in there as some people think that CRM will do everything for you. I mean, I know it's what you put into that CRM and how you use it, but that's why I always say CRM,
it's
you
true.
You have to engage with people just like we are here. I mean, it's a great tool. I'm not making fun of a CRM.
Look, I 200% agree. And that's where technology, I think, has taken us, particularly during the COVID period. Technology took us away from the human relationship. So we were separated, all right, physically separated because of the social distancing, etc. And the rise of, there's other social media platforms, there's other video conferencing platforms around that people have been able, people are craving to get people connections. Like, we're community-based people. That's who we are. We're people love people, and we like, as I say, getting belly to belly, face to face, and at least in a conferencing space we can do that. But a CRM, unfortunately, has become an automated, robotic sort of position and taken away the human connection. And if you do that, your business eventually will become a disaster. It's not if, it's when. And so keeping the human interaction, it cannot take away from that human part. And that's what we've tried to do. Is we've tried to say within our CRM and the different tools we've created is, how do you become productive? How do you save time? How do you use it as a time tool rather than a replacement of the human condition of relationship? It's an assistance tool, not a replacement tool.
That's well said. Yeah.
You mentioned something that we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg is the AI and how that's going to alter how businesses are doing business. And you're to be in that space, in that business space. How are you going to be using AI in your platform and in your business and teaching the entrepreneur, the business, the end user how to use it effectively. So you maintain what you talked about, the human connection.
So I use the thinking with AI, and a lot of people think, oh, it's brand new. It's been around for so long, all right, in different formats, and people just don't know how long it's been around for. And so what I've said, it's an augmentation. It's a tool, not a replacement. And people are saying, oh, gee, it's going to replace jobs, etc., etc. Well, there's going to be some jobs that need to re-evolve. They need to rechange, rethink the way they do things. However, it will not take away jobs. Yeah, and I've been hanging out with some of the best in the business here, and it's just a matter of shooving, or some people use the word pivot. I don't like the word pivot. I like to say shift. All right, because it is a shift. It's a big mindset change. So how we've adopted it is, again, it's a tool to increase productivity. So we've placed it in there. Now, if you need to make an email copy, if you need to be able to create different things, you use it as a tool. There's a thing called a prompt within AI, within ChatGPT and the different AI tools. If you have the right prompts, it can generate the information that you want very, very fast. It's going to help you do the research very, very fast. Now, where I see AI, particularly in these early stages, helping is in how you communicate in the written word. All right. So, and also in the video, there's a lot of different augmentations around video and video conferencing and stuff like that, and creation of video and images. It's an augmentation, but it still needs a human entity to drive the process. All right. Like a human's got to create the prompt. The human's got to tell it what to do. A human's still got to say, yes, that's good, that's not good. And so what it does, it improves the communication channel so that you can spend more time face to face. All right. And so if you think about it, this is about getting you from a text, all right, in a fast sense, to speed up your text communication, whether it be an email or SMS or whatever, however you want to communicate. Speed that process up to give you the time to actually have the human connection. That's the way I view it. And if people think to themselves, instead of having, spending so much time in the CRM, sending lots and lots of emails and spamming people, and actually get your prompts in a situation where, how do I get my mindset to say, how do I create more conversations that are human to human? You do that, you'll actually use AI to its absolute advantage and create some really, really successful business. Now, it's only been really implemented with our CRM and around the world for the last couple of months, and I'm already starting to see that change. Like, it's saving me loads of time that gives me the time to have these sort of conversations and be on podcasts. So I can actually be in different networking events and etc. That it's given me that time back to be able to do that. Now, I have not put off any staff members. I've actually increased my staff as my business increased, not decreased. It's allowed me to grow and employ more people, maybe in different areas. Might not be as many copywriters around anymore, but my copywriters are now using ChatGPT to produce the goods, and they can do a lot more content that now has a lot more meaning to it.
Yeah, it's creating content is a challenge for most people. It's business people, the best way to communicate. But ultimately, like Mark says, you got to pick that phone up or meet face to face in this format or in person, whatever the case may be. What I like to do is that somebody going into business, what should they, in their communication, in their technology, what are the things that you recommend that they build towards? Because we can get overwhelmed in all the processes and all the tools that are out there. What would you recommend for anybody out there that's aspiring to be in business or a small business owner? What should they be looking at to simplify their processes and how to integrate them more effectively? What could you expound on that? I hope I made that clear.
Absolutely. Look, I've got five pieces of technology. If you can get five forms of technology, now that can be in one platform or five platforms, but there's five pieces that you really got to get right to be able to give you your time. Now, the first one is what most people I've certainly come across is when I first meet up with a client and we go through our first strategy session, I ask them a simple question. Are you a Microsoft user or are you a Google user? And they go, what do you mean? And I go, well, do you use Microsoft Office, et cetera, or do you use Google and Google in G Suite? And they go, well, I have a Microsoft account, and I have a Google account, and I have a Dropbox account, and I have an Amazon account, and I have and it goes on and on and on. I said, okay, then you might have those accounts, but where is your main place to have your data stored? And they go, I've got a little bit of it. And literally, people have got their information scattered amongst all the different platforms. For goodness sake, pick one as your main platform and use the other ones for transferring files to people who are on different platforms. But you keep yourself on one platform. That's the biggest tip I can give to anybody. Pick one, whether it be Google or Microsoft, and there's a lot of pros and cons for both platforms. Yeah, a lot of people still might, if you're in a Mac world, might go into the iCloud space and in the Mac sort of space. But just pick one and make an informed decision. And so the way I use Google, now I'm not trying to say that Google's better than the others. I made the decision to choose Google. What led me to that particular choice was Google is the search engine that everybody goes to. By being on Google, you have a better optimization of all of your information. All right, you get better search engine optimization with just being a Google user. All right, by itself, and having things connected into your Google platform. So having your domains, etc., and your email servers and everything going through Google ranks you higher. That was my number one reason. All right. Now you can't, in any other platform, that doesn't make a difference. So I rank very high in SEO without actually spending much money on SEO. All right. And search engine optimization for those people who are not quite sure of the term. So if you can actually get that one decision, that gets probably about 50%. Now, when it goes to things like file management and stuff like that, like we spend on average, all right, this is statistically proven, on average, we spend 18 minutes looking for each file. Now, if you're going to look for 10 files in a day, you can be losing an hour or two a day just searching for a file. If you've got them in one spot, you cut that down by 30%. So there's still around about, on average, around about 12 to 13 minutes still looking for that file. But if you're in the Google space, the search engine sort of thinking, it cuts that down even further. So that by itself is probably the one thing. The second bit of technology is the CRM. I really do feel that most businesses say to themselves, I don't need one of those. But I would be as bold to say that every business should have one. If you're serious about being in business and wanting to grow, a CRM needs to be there in some form. And you know, to be able to keep track of who's people, who you're connecting with, who you're talking to, etc. like that, really important. So that's two. The third one is if you're going to try and create time, you got to manage your time. You know, so there's only 24 hours. I actually say you got to manage yourself. Time can't be managed. There's 24 hours in a day. It doesn't matter how much you manage it. You're not going to get more of it. But if you can manage yourself a lot better, and having a tool that will help you manage yourself within the 24 hours you have. And you know, there's a great one out there called Calendly. It's a good individual product. All right. Another one's called Book Like a Boss. All right. Good tools. All right. They are fantastic tools to be able to do things. But again, if you've got a good CRM, it'll have a calendar system in it. All right. To be able to book. Fourth one is somehow to manage your social media. Social media, whether you like it or you hate it, all right, social media is here to stay. And just like this platform, you're now going live on the multiple platforms at the moment. So being able to do that and have the right platforms and be able to go live and to be able to post stuff at a click of a button, to be able to send you out to multiple ways. So somehow to manage your social media content is important. And the fifth one is, how do you manage your websites? All right, so websites and web building and landing pages and funnels and all that type of stuff. How do you do that? So there's the 5 tech tips that I would say. And if you can get one tool to do all the 5 spots, you won't get one tool to do the Google or the Microsoft. You'll always need one of those. If you get one tool to do the rest, oh, hallelujah, which is why I come up with something different with the CRM Hub that I've got. And it's now got everything like that in it. It's a holistic approach to all the business needs. Then there's some other things that become optional. I call it optional ones is how you build your systems. If you're going to grow a team, if you're going to be a solopreneur, that's okay. But if you're going to start to get 2, 3, 4, 5 staff, how do you train and keep a hold of your systems and have all your stuff done? So having a systemology mindset and having the right tools around that is very important. So and we've got that within our productivity systems as well. So they're the main ones, and I just now, as soon as I started any business, doesn't matter what I do, I set those 5 sections up, make those choices, go in, duplicate that, take away all the decisions, and I'm off and running within days rather than swapping and changing and mucking around. I make the decision, pick the right tool up front, go through it. I don't go for the free stuff. Like, that's the biggest bunkum there is out there. I won't use any bad words here, but people go for the free thing because it's free, and then 6 months, 12 months down the track, they find themselves changing because they can't afford it when it goes on with the paid plan. And so avoid the free things, do your diligence, and pick a tool that's going to do you long term, not just a short term fix.
Wonderful. Good advice there, because running a business day with all the technology, the things that I found that have worked for me is they all integrate. That's one of the reasons when I heard you talk on that summit was you talked about Google. Everything I use interfaces with Google, with Calendly, all that. My CRM, I use a CRM called Pipedrive. Very simple to use, very inexpensive. For what my needs are, I'm a solopreneur, so I don't need a thing as powerful as a HubSpot or Salesforce, just so I can keep track of my inventory or people. Where am I with them? I can track my communications, what I communicated with them, and so I know where they are in my funnel, my personal funnel. So I love that platform because it interfaced so seamlessly with the Google platform. So that would, you're talking my language, is that.
I think that's you got to, when you're going out for technology, it's not just about it saying, is this application a good application? You got to look. I think you got to go a little bit deeper than just the application. If you can actually go down to what's behind the application, what's the thinking, what's the philosophy, and again, I go back. I've got to go back to Google when I say that, because Google's basic philosophy and basic policy is to be able to integrate with anything and anybody who wants to integrate with it. All right, that's its basic core, and it's been cloud-based from day one. All right, it's always been cloud-based. It's never been any different, and it's always had the same place where it might come up with extra tools within itself. However, its interface and how it applies itself and the APIs to be able to apply itself within other applications that's what they want to do. They want to interact with the world. Microsoft, however, keeps on coming up with different applications itself, and it's got now dynamics and stuff like that in their CRM. And so they just make it, I wouldn't say they make it hard intentionally, but they design around making an ecosystem that's closed rather than one like Google, which is open. All right. And having a closed ecosystem means that you've got to been through it quite a lot. If you have an open ecosystem like Google, it opens up the doors for a lot more ability to be able to do things. Again, personal preference. It's like the Coke and the Pepsi sort of argument, the GM versus Ford argument. People will pick which one they like. But as I said, I like the Google space. It's treated me well. Never had any problems with it.
I'm back. I had to close the drapes here on my office window. I was getting the afternoon sun on me.
You're about to get a nice suntan on the right-hand side. Eh?
That's it, a little sunburn. So great advice there. So you're talking, what you're sharing, that's a good starting point. So your services, when somebody was coming to you, share a little bit about what you do, getting somebody launched into using technology.
Yeah. So we start with the thing. Well, it's always got to start with the thing in the strategy. All right. So if you can get your right strategy. So I always start with it. We've got a lot of different courses, a lot of content to help people make the right decisions. All right. And it's not necessarily, I don't necessarily push them towards my technology stack or my solutions. I give them a framework to make a good, healthy decision in their business. And as I said, the first thing I always do with any client, every single client that starts with me or in an open forum like I did with the summit with Be Connected, was I give people the real advice. All right. It's not the advice based on how do I drive traffic to myself. I just try and be honest and have some integrity about this and say, hey, like Pipedrive. You mentioned Pipedrive. Good product. We've already mentioned Calendly. Good product. I'm not about saying there's bad product out there. I'm just saying that the product that I have, if you haven't yet made a decision or you're not happy with your decisions, all right, maybe you want to have a look at what we've got. And so once I get the people to help them make sure they've got their thinking right, I then can guide them into what sort of technology stack they need. And I always say less is more, all right? Rather than trying to have 20, 30, 40 different tools, all right? And if you're a solopreneur, even if you're only 2 or 3, 5 people, you just got to realize yourself, you cannot learn all the tools. So learn 5 well rather than 25 poorly. All right. And you'll be a lot more productive and you'll be a lot less stressed. And if you do those 5 that I was talking about, you'll be able to do anything. I run now 3 7-figure companies with just those 5 tools. All right. Now I've got a graphic designer. We have Adobe, all right, to do some of our graphic design and editing and stuff like that. And we use Canva as another good product, but we pretty much use that because it's a very accessible, easy to use, and we use Be Connected. So we use other applications for different purposes, but you don't necessarily need to. You don't necessarily need all that unless you're really getting into it. You can outsource a lot of that stuff. And so get the thinking, get your technology stack right. And what happens is a lot of the time, people are building their business, it's starting to grow, they're getting less and less time. And so I then help people get their thinking right around building systems so they can outsource. Now, whether they come to us as an outsource team and get all their stuff done, or they go to something like Upwork or Fiverr, at least they know how to build a system to get the right and to give the right brief to get the right product back. So you're not backwards and forwards. So systemization is something we're just literally in the last days at the moment of launching a product that I have been building now for 11 years. 11 years of heart, sweat, tears. It's called TESS, Transformational Electronic Simple Systems. I started it when I was back in Google. I was literally in the Google ecosystem, and they had a thing called Google Sites. And then Google decided to change their algorithms and their permission basis and stuff like that. And it literally blew a product that I was selling hand over fist to help businesses systemize. It blew it out the water because they changed one little bit. And I thought to myself, I'm just going to let it go. And then I resurrected that particular project, and we've just built our own platform now. It's something to be seen. When it launches, it will be the first of its type in the world, using AI, using all the different systemology that a lot of people know building videos and building flowcharts. It has all the tools built into it. And if you want to start a business, literally, it's got over 200 systems available in it, pre-built, that a person can literally from day one go, I want to start a business. And they've got all their policies, procedures, systems, checklists, et cetera, in one spot, and they start it like that. And it just fast tracks a business into good practice from day one. And so that's a product that we're launching now. It's going to be coming out on the 1st of July. Looking forward to that one.
I've got this question. What's your thought and recommendation in and around using virtual assistants?
Okay, great question. So a lot of people see virtual assistants as taking jobs away, because a lot of virtual assistants people see as being, they're using people from other countries, all right, where their economics, it's a lot more economical to use somebody from another country. That's a part of it. But the reality is virtual assistants or outsourced team building is what I now call it. A lot of businesses cannot afford to put a person in your same office, in your same area. And so they get hamstrung and they just work harder. And so there's got to be a stepping platform. My philosophy around building an outsourced team is three mainstream, people that are doing what you do. So I've got a number of staff members and everything in Australia to one virtual assistant was the ratio that I used to work to. Now that I have the virtual assistant or outsourced company, obviously I've got a lot more virtual assistants because they are employed by other people. All right. So very different in my personal business, but I had a 3-to-1 ratio. That worked. It's a way in which I grew my training company. Like I grew a training company from, literally a solopreneur. It was me, myself, and I doing everything, to within 3 years, I had 60 staff. All right. And so I couldn't have built that and created the jobs in my hometown without having some leverage at a more economical rate. Now, the other thing is, one of the other misnomers or myths that people think about it is you're not paying them enough. All right. You're slave labor. Wrong. I actually pay my people in the Philippines higher rates than they can get anywhere else in the world. All right. And so I pay them well. I pay them well above what they can get paid in their own country. And it creates an environment. Like we have people that are employed by us but there's a job shortage in a lot of countries. And so rather than just handing them out money in a welfare environment, I much prefer to employ the people, give them something to do rather than just give them a handout. And I think our whole welfare system around the world could probably do with a bit of a change in that area, but that's a political agenda I won't go to. But the reality is outsourcing with the right mindset is about creating jobs for other people, leveraging your own time to be able to grow a business that you couldn't otherwise have done, to pay taxes in your country, to employ people in your country. And if you didn't do it, you couldn't do it. And so that's my philosophy. If you're doing it purely and simply because it's cheaper, you're going in with the wrong methodology. All right. You're going in with the wrong mindset. It's about how do I grow and what are the steps to growth and to growing a team that creates the business growth. And so you're flipping it on the head. You're actually really starting to think to yourself, what are the things that I can do to make a business grow?
My wife and her business, we have a platform. You may be familiar with the Kajabi.
Yes.
An all-in-one platform she does education, so she's going to have an educational platform for her training and classes she puts on. Pretty comprehensive system, but we hired a VA that we did some research and we found somebody that knew how to work with Kajabi specifically, and
yes.
it was a godsend. Saved us tons of time, tons of money, and my time. Because ultimately I could have done a lot of the work, but it would have been slow and it would have been a lot of errors and a lot of that type of stuff. So it was a great investment to find the right resource, the right virtual assistant company that had people that had worked with those particular products or systems, and it was a godsend. and the work was beautiful, flawless, and it's
Yeah.
image is so important. They listened well, and they kept it within the brand. All our communications, they starting to understand my wife's language, and and her partner's language, and putting together the email streams and all the things that we wanted to do, landing pages, all that, and video conferencing within the platform. All that was done through them, and it was a godsend. So I encourage anybody. Would you offer those type of resources to help people identify what might be the best place to go with their need?
Absolutely. Again, Kajabi, great product. There's another one called Thinkific. All right, great product if you're looking at building courses, and that mindset, what you just talked about there, Thomas, is exactly right. You think about how many people your courses have helped. All right, that you wouldn't have helped that many people if you didn't leverage your time by outsourcing it and getting somebody who was proficient at it and could actually take your ideas and get it into action rather than just being another project that's going to be put on the back burner. All right. And so Kajabi, Thinkific, there's a number of different tools out there that are very good. By the way, CRM Hub has an equivalent of Kajabi built into it already. So again, thinking of trying to keep less is more. All right, having one program that actually has it integrated. Right now, there's another, probably a good little interlude here. There's another product out there a lot of people use, which is called Zapier. All right, there's a couple other ones around, Integramat, Pabbly, and what they are is a third-party application that allows two different applications. It sits in between, and it links different applications together. All right, people call them Zaps. Now, that was a great tool in the early days, a fantastic tool, and it's still a good tool. If you've got multiple pieces, you really want to be able to cut down your time, and rather than sort of copying and pasting and moving data from one place to another all the time, something like Zapier will allow you to do that. However, an all-in-one system, something that's already pre-built with everything already together, all right, and you mentioned one before, like HubSpot has got this sort of philosophy as well, Salesforce. But they've also got the price tag of a couple of $1,000s a month, all right, that people, it's enough to choke a horse, all right, some of the price tags you see. So what I've been able to do is I've gone, okay, what are the other tools? So Kajabi is one tool that I knew was something I used within my learning platform as an educator when I had the Learning Institute. So we've put that into the CRM as well. It's there. And so we've got those sort of tools that are fully integrated. You don't have to think about, okay, if I push this button, is it going to work over there? It just works. So again, some great tools if you're going to actually really reach out and make a difference. All right. Some things like we're not going to reinvent something like Be Connected. Like, why would I? However, in some of the other areas, this integrates beautifully. It's a very simple system to integrate with most platforms. So yeah, it's really, really important.
You have an offer. I would like to. I put up your website here. I'm going to bring that back up so people can go to your website. I'm going to put that up right here.
Go for it.
There it is, right there. So anybody out there, that'd be the website. You have a free gift that you're offering, correct?
Yeah, so anybody wants to join in and join the party, so to speak, join the community, join the conversation. It's a community gift. And so what is in there is 30 free gifts. All right, so there's a series of different podcasts. There's some digital tools, checklists, etc., like that, to help people going. So it's 30 different tools, tips, tricks, podcasts on how to get business going. All right, so they're all free. You put your name in there in the database. If you don't want to be in the database, you will get some other stuff in it. I'll make that very, very clear. Once you do that and you sign into it, you'll get some of our other stuff. I don't spam just for the sake of spamming to try and sell people stuff. My philosophy is people will come to me if they want to know more. All right, and so typically you'll hear me sharing extra information. This is something to help you. This is to add value in your life. And if you want to know more, contact me. That's rather than just saying I don't sell. If you want to get on a call, we'll have a conversation. Maybe then we'll have a conversation around sales.
Awesome. Hey, I just wanted to reiterate, Ruben Lowering, he's a former Navy SEAL, and he always puts out content. He's like into a boxing mode. He is a fighter. He said, I would dig an Android sparring partner. He does a lot of different things that he shares hitting the heavy bag. So I don't know how that would work, but
Look, Ruben, mate, get in contact with me, buddy. Like sparring partners. I'm a lover, not a fighter. But I would actually say to you, I love technology, and I'm a Mac user. So there you go. I've thrown out the challenge, and so I've got my iPhone here. So it's a choice. Like if you want to get out there and have a spar about it. More importantly, I'm into relationship. I'm into collaboration.
Right.
So if you're out there and anything you do sounds like it resonates, even if you feel like you're doing the same thing, hey, let's have a conversation. Like I find that iron sharpens ironstone. It just makes a massive difference if you have a conversation with people in the same space. All right, so I'm not precious. I'll share any of my tips and tricks about how I've grown business, etc. And I'll have the conversation of why I chose the iCloud and iMacs and bits and pieces over an Android system. But really, it's much of a muchness.
Kelvin, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up share something on the screen so those that are watching have something to see and be able to copy down. So I'm going to put this up. Can you see that?
We got it.
So you're an author as well. What's your best-selling? What did you sell? What did you write about?
So I'm now a 4 times best-selling author. So I just published a new book a couple of months back. So I started off. I published a book called it's the Unleash series, so 4 Unleash series. So the first book I published was Unleash the Future of Leadership. And what I'd written about in that particular book is my experiences at working in the not-for-profit world as compared to working in the business world. So understanding what I call a transformational leader compared to a transactional leader. And the experience, so I interviewed a lot of different CEOs from different for-profit business, large for-profit businesses and large not-for-profit businesses, and just looked at the different leadership styles and what both industries could glean from each other. So that was Unleash the Future of Leadership. The second one was Unleash the Future of You. It was very much a self-diagnostic, self-analysis tool. I shared my journey from the School of Hard Knocks, from the things that really challenged me in life. Like I grew up, I was 30 before I could learn to read and write properly. And so found out when I was 30 that I was dyslexic, so I wear glasses now, which fixed it all up, but I didn't find out until I was 30. All right. And so I just go through different challenges I had in life. I broke my back. I was unable to walk for 6 months. I lost everything. I went through quite a few challenges. So I go through those challenges and how I actually overcome that. And what was the mindset on how do I, because a lot of the people who are around me said, you've had a pretty tough life. How do you keep on getting up and keep on going? I said, well, having the right people around you helps. And so I wrote the book. That's what the motivation of that book was about, is about how did I get up? How did I keep on getting up after getting some I lost everything, had business partners that wanted to take everything and they run away with my money. At 6 months unable to walk, laying down in bed after breaking my back, having a nervous breakdown, all those sort of stories that it just happens in life. The third book was Unleash the Diamond in the Rough. And that was really about my learning curve after the School of Hard Knocks. What was the learning curve into business? What were the different things that I learned going into business? So I took from a personal life in Unleash the Future You to be able to knock off the carpenter, tradie sort of rough edges, all right, the diamond in the rough, and become a business person. So that's what the third book. And the last one I've just written, which is Unleash the Freedom Machine. And it's probably a culmination of all the lessons I've learned to how do you actually grow a successful business fast or to the level that you want it to be, and what are the steps I took. So things like outsourcing, getting the right technology. A lot of stuff we've talked about today is in that last book, Unleash the Future of, Unleash the Freedom Machine. And so it's been a very, very, very empowering book from my perspective to look back and say, gee whiz, I've taken a couple of steps, you know. I wouldn't say I'm there yet. You know, life is a journey, and I'm continuing to improve, continuing to read, continuing to learn. So that's the 4 books, and I've got one more coming, which is Unleash Your Dreams.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. We'll encourage people to make sure they can go to Amazon and search your name, and they'll find your books. So
absolutely, those
are resources that any entrepreneur, anybody in business, I would highly. It sounds like just what your description is something, a resource. I especially like your last one about the freedom thing. That's been my ultimate goal. You talked about retirement. People say, I'm 73, so I'm the senior one here. So people say, well, aren't you going to retire? And I says, never. I've created a life I don't want to retire from. So I do those things that I enjoy, have a passion for. My goal is to help people be more profitable in business, starting from changing a mindset all the way to things you're talking, bringing people, introducing people to what it takes to win. So you brought a lot of great content today on the foundation and the fundamentals of what to look for, how to start setting yourself up. And I encourage people to reach out to you. I put your email there as well if they have any questions.
Always welcome. Yeah, the more the merrier. Don't be afraid. You know, there's no such thing as being too busy, right? If you're too busy to have a conversation with somebody, you're doing something wrong. You need to free up your time in some other area to make more time for people.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you. Mark, do you have any questions or anything else you want to?
I think he knocked it out of the park. I particularly like Kelvin. Thank you for sharing about CRM, the good, bad, the ugly of that, as well as AI. They're tools, and I know right now we're going through this realm of AI-isms. The good, bad, indifferent, and like you said, it's a tool. So use it as such. But I don't think anything is the do-all, end-all. You mentioned about engagement. And, when we went back about 2019, to be exact, a lot of things did change. And I think people were encapsulated in their little silos, and this is the best medium right here to have conversation with people. I mean, I would prefer this over the phone, although I use the phone. The next best thing, obviously, I'd love to meet you face to face, but this is a great intro or a segue. When you do meet face to face, if I were to see you somewhere, I'd say, hey man, that's Kelvin Holliday. Check him out. There he is,
Yeah, mate.
And we'd be able to have a conversation right off the bat. So that's exactly the beauty of using this, what you were talking about earlier.
Absolutely. Technology is your friend if you allow it to be.
Right.
Or it can control you. It's the old two-edged sword, mate. You can use the good edge or the bad edge.
Right. And what you're talking about is you're in Australia, right? I'm in Peachtree Corners, Georgia. And look where Tom's at, he's out there in Wisconsin. So, I mean, none of us are in the same room, but we're doing this. And when you really start breaking it down, one day I said, this is amazing that you can have conversations, actually learn. And, I've got friends through these platforms that I haven't met them yet. Eventually, I'm sure I will, but it's kind of cool, I'm able to do this.
Absolutely. Look, I'm actually excited. I'm off to Bali in a couple of weeks' time. And wow. I'm going off to do a conference in Bali. Now, there's 7 of us who have physically never met, who have put on a conference in Bali, like a retreat conference in Bali. We've never met each other, never physically met each other. It's been for the last 4 years, we've been planning this retreat and conferences and meeting up, and it started with just getting to know each other leading up to this conference. And so we're all pretty excited that we're actually going to meet, as I said, belly to belly, face to face. And
I know
it's going to be an interesting event for all these people that we, I think I'm just going to walk around and go put in the phone, So.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm going to do a plug for Be Connected. How were you introduced to Be Connected, and what did you see initially? And I'll tell what I saw initially. What did you see?
Well, I was introduced by a gentleman by the name of Alan Stevens. Alan Stevens is a facial profiler. He's an absolute legend of a guy. I've known him for many, many years, and he told me to check it out. And when he tells me to check something out, I check something out. And when I first seen it, I seen the video conferencing part first, and I went, and I'd spent a lot of time in the other ones, the Zooms and the Skypes and the other areas. The tool is just next level. It's been designed for business to have conversations. That's what it's been designed for, not just having a conversation. Skype was very much a place where people could go to have conversations, yes, but that was all it was. This now has taken all the history of what meetings have become online, conferences, webinars, what it's become, and they've put all of it into one basket and connect and built it out into a complete social media or social gatherings platform. It's got all the tools to be able to do that. So and we met on it. So being able to do that, it's a very unique beast, and the quality, the simplicity, etc., etc. It's just, I cannot rave about it enough.
Wonderful. That's sort of our plug for Be Connected, because we're all here using it and enjoying it, but there's also a monetization factor that a lot of people don't realize. No other platform allows you to monetize your following as Be Connected. So anybody wants to know more about that, feel free to reach out to Kelvin, myself, or Mark, and we can introduce you to the monetization factors with Be Connected. I know that the other platforms out there aren't showing you how to monetize your following through their platforms. This one, we can show you how to do that. That's huge.
Absolutely. That within itself is a game changer. It's it's making the users a part of the system, and it's a part of the ecosystem. It makes it sticky, all right, and it really does. And the other thing I love about this platform is probably the number one thing now is their ability to be able to make improvements fast. All right. And so and it's not to fix bugs or problems. It's they take on advice and they go, that's a good idea. And all of a sudden it's there, and so they're very fast to implement new changes and updates.
Yeah. They started out with a clear, simple vision of what they saw the other platforms out there, and they just said, let's take the best of everything and put it in one package. And make it simple, integrate this into your business. So I do live streaming, and a colleague of mine here in the Milwaukee area knows that I was doing live streaming. She reached out to me, introduced it to me, and my face was stuck to the screen when she was showing me all the widgets and what we can do for it in one place. And I said, and then she says, by the way, it's going to be X amount a month. And I said, I'm all in just on as a business. The easiest dollar made in business is a dollar saved. So I looked the economics. I said, this is a no-brainer. So I made that shift. Number one, for the simplicity, the power, what it gave, what I wanted to use it for. But more importantly, as a small business owner, it doesn't sound a lot to a lot of people out there, but $60, $80 a month adds up in a hurry, especially when you're using all sorts of widgets or tools in your business. If you can cut that cost out or reduce it substantially, it's a win-win-win. So the culmination of everything made me make this move. and I made a commitment to be part of the share the vision of this company and what it's doing. So same with Mark, he's in on it, and I know you as well. So
yeah, one of the other things that I think we've got to start to think of is some people are starting to hear the whispers about Web 3.0 coming. All right, and if you haven't heard about Web 3.0, do your research now. All right, because Be Connected will help you be prepared for Web 3.0 when it comes. I just leave that as a little taster for you. But like
Web 3.0.
Yep.
Web 3.0.
All
right, it is coming. It is coming at a blisteringly fast pace. They've been talking about it since 2007. All right, they're now with the blockchain technology and different things around. It's now becoming a reality. All right, which increases your security, but more importantly, it allows you to take control of your community rather than having that in Facebook land or like a LinkedIn land or whatever it is, and then risk the chances of getting booted out. All right, which is happening to a lot of people. Be Connected has a meeting area and a community building area that has a very different philosophy. If you build a community here, you own the community. All right, it's not a matter of Facebook owning all the data. You actually own all the data, which is really cool.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's a great feature of what they've done. Well, with that all said, I tell you what, our 45 minutes goes to an hour and a half. That's how we just where we're at. So I appreciate you. I know it's 5 o'clock, or it's now. What time in the morning there in Thailand?
Now 20 past 6. Yeah, so it's double shot espresso time just to keep my body clock waking up. So
my Kelvin, that's awesome that you did this for us this evening. Really appreciate you. That's definitely a different time zone there for sure. I mean,
it's all good. Love it. Love it.
Well, thank you, Kelvin, again for being here. And Mark, anything else you want to talk about before we close it out?
I just enjoyed listening to him. I love the accent. Please don't take that the wrong way. And what you had to share with us was very valuable when you talked about the 5 tools, that you need to associate yourself with, and of your choice. But you simplify it, which is a good thing. The process, because I think sometimes people run over here, run over there, and they're looking for a widget, and then they'll go over and get another one, and they'll throw some money at that. And I think if anything, what you've instilled in me, as I've always believed, is being consistent and persistent with what you have and use it, and then go from there.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, Mark, next week, do we have a guest next week?
Oh, yes, we do. And this will be kind of cool. And I know, I think he's listening out there. We've got a young gentleman here, Jordan Thomas. He is a PR graduate. He's a content writer. He's published various magazine articles. We're going to get into a bunch of things with him. I can't wait. And Jordan, I'm talking about you, so I'm sorry, I'm looking at my other screen here. So if you're out there listening, we're looking forward to it. Yeah, absolutely, it'll be a lot of fun. And the neat thing about this is we get people not only from different backgrounds, different ages, ethnicities. This is what's cool about this. So I call him a young blood. He's probably like my son's age, all of 25 or something. So these are the guys that are screamers out there with technology. They act like there's nothing to it. And Kelvin, you know what I'm talking about, because they grew up with it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Love it. Us all great folk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every household should have a 15-year-old in it, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, Kelvin, we're going to wrap it up. And we'll definitely be staying in touch through our community at Be Connected. And God bless you. Thank you much for being here today.
My pleasure.
I know you can make a big difference in people's businesses. So glad to have you here.
Yeah. Thank you, Kelvin.
All right. We're going to roll her out.